Hello and welcome to Krishnan College, episode 9. Today I am joined by my boss in AIChE, because he's the president, and my mentee in the O Lab, Zach Sheeran, who is a student studying chemical engineering with a pre-med focus. How's it going, Zach?
I'm good. How are you?
Dude, I'm doing well. All right, so I want to start off by just leaving the floor to you. Tell the audience about yourself.
Sure. So my name's Zach. I'm a rising junior at Penn State studying chemical engineering. The pre-med focus, as Akshay said. So my goal is eventually to go to med school and hopefully be an orthopedic surgeon one day.
Dude, that sounds awesome. So I guess I'll just start you off like with the obvious question on a lot of people's minds. Why chemical engineering to go pre-med?
Mm. So in high school, I knew I was gonna do engineering. Um, I was just deciding between which one I wanted to do, and it was mostly between biomedical and chemical. Because I still had the intent of going to med school after. But yeah, I liked my 11th grade chemistry teacher, and he kind of had helped me lean more towards chemical over biomedical, even though they have a lot of overlaps.
Hmm.
But yeah.
Awesome. Sweet. So I guess when did you initially get that connection to apply your engineering skills to like a pre-med focus? And like, have you seen a good amount of overlap so far in your curriculum?
Um, I would say like obviously with chemical, it's tailored more towards like an industrial focus, but in a few of my classes, like fluids,
Mhm.
especially, you can have some overlap with like flow, blood flow,
Yeah.
which definitely applies to stuff in medicine. But um, as of right now, there's not too much overlap, but I'm sure once I actually end up in med school, I'll see a lot more. Because the other class I'm taking are like biology, and those are
Yeah.
mostly memorization based, so not
Yeah.
as much like engineering focus.
Yeah, I think that your unique insight that you'll be able to offer like in the field of medicine, bringing in that engineering insight will be pretty valuable. So I think that that's a really interesting career path that you're taking that I bet some people may be interested in who are listening. So let's take it back to Zach before college.
Okay.
Just like talk about your experience. Like you're from Media, Pennsylvania. How did you initially, I guess, get into the application process and like where did Penn State come into that picture?
Um, yeah, so as I said, I obviously knew I wanted to do engineering. I didn't want to go anywhere too far from home, so Penn State was definitely one of the top options for me, along with Pitt. Um, and then when I was looking between the two engineering programs, Penn State um, definitely looked a lot better. So um, I also, with the intent of going to med school after, I wasn't planning on going anywhere um, like super crazy expensive because with medical school bills afterwards. So um, yeah, I was a lot different than most people. I kind of knew where I was going before. I didn't apply to like 15 to 20 different schools, um, like a lot of people in my grade, but I just narrowed it down to like two or three and eventually ended up picking Penn State.
Awesome. Sweet. And like during your time at Penn State, what was that initial adjustment like? Like I guess both socially and academically.
Yeah, so I think like high school, I was my focus was mainly on school. I wasn't too involved with clubs or anything. So once I got to college, that's when I, like at a big school like Penn State, that's when I realized you really have to put yourself out there and make connections, get involved. And I tried to do that early on, which I think has helped me up to this point. But yeah, it was definitely valuable figuring that out early.
Hmm. Right. And like as both you and I know, chemical engineering is an extremely rigorous major. And at times it can feel kind of socially isolating, especially at first, like when you get into that first class and then you see like a huge differential equation on the board and like a process diagram and it's like what is going on? So what tips have you used to kind of like ease that transition and to kind of make your experience a little bit better?
Um, I mean, definitely wasn't easy.
No, it's
Like
not.
high school chemistry, physics, math came fairly easy to me, and then once you kind of put those all together and into one class, it makes things very difficult. Yeah, I don't know. Like you kind of just get used to not having the same success as high school, and you kind of just learn to accept it, even though it's like still good
Yeah.
enough. But yeah, I think your
Mhm.
standards definitely change.
Oh, for sure. And like I feel like something that's kind of like helped like me through that and like maybe it's also helped you is like just like finding like a friend group to go through those problem sets with
Yeah.
or building a community, whether that's through AIChE, which we'll talk about in a minute, or whether that's just like talking to your professors and getting help from the TAs or LAs and like a lot of courses. Like one example, like Zach, you could speak about this is like Thermo One. It's like we had an amazing TA. So like just like talk about the interaction there and like how that helped you.
You talking about Amir?
Yes, we're talking about Amir, the
Okay,
goat.
yeah. So yeah, we had Thermo 1. A lot of people struggled early on. So we were going to these help sessions and the TA, Amir, um, we all thought he knew more than the professor. So he was really a good source of knowledge for figuring out how to do everything. And I remember going to him early on just to really like understand the fundamentals initially, and then stuff came a lot easier afterwards. Whereas I think
Mhm.
for people who tried to do it themselves, they found it a lot harder early on. So, like high school, I never really went for help or anything because I could like do it myself. But in college, if you can utilize resources as much as possible, it will help you. And you don't have to feel like you're weak or anything by going to office hours or asking for help because it would definitely help you later on.
Right. I think that that is definitely a mindset shift because it does honestly come easier to a lot of like our friends in engineering. Like in high school, they just show up to class and they do well in the math and science and then move on. But you do really need to seek out and get help. So I think that is important in the academic sphere. So kind of like shifting gears like a little bit to, I guess, the more professional development sphere. You got involved in AIChE really early. So you started as the event planner in your freshman year. How did that happen so fast?
Well, no, I was a rep my first year, and then
Oh,
this past
right.
year I was
You
event
yeah,
planner.
like you were a rep and then you were event planner
Yeah.
this year, which is still a quick jump.
Yeah.
So like how did you initially take that first step to get involved?
Um, so I met the former president Andrew at the engineering orientation event, like right before school started, and he promoted AIChE very well. It seemed like an interesting club.
Hmm.
I joined the group me. I started going to the GBMs like the first couple weeks of class. Um, and I got to meet a bunch of people there, even though there weren't too many freshmen. It was mostly like upperclassmen. Um, but the former treasurer was my TA for chemistry, so I found
Nice.
that connection there and definitely helped me later on getting more involved.
Hmm. For sure. And I guess through that leadership experience, what's been something that you've been able to take away from that and that you hope to carry forward in your future experiences?
I think with like some of the leadership roles, it definitely helps to like improve your communication skills and connections and all that, especially as an like the stereotype of an engineer is
Yeah.
lock yourself up in your room, don't talk to anyone. But I think if you can combine that like with the academics and some of the technical skills with like communication skills, it would go a long way.
Right, for sure. 100%. now, like, I know that you're also involved in research and you do some volunteer work at the hospital. So, kind of just talk about those two kind of like diverse experiences, like, and their different ways that you interact with science and engineering.
Yeah, so with research, obviously in OLab, you kind of get the experience in like a lab setting, with a lot of different techniques, similar to Oreo Lab, but I think it's definitely more advanced and more tailored towards um, like pharmaceuticals and chemical engineering. Um, and then with volunteering, like I'm getting my clinical hours with those, but that's another piece I think, along with leadership, is improve like interpersonal skills with people. They don't always have to be like people you work with. It can just be anyone. Like in the hospital, I'm working in ER, and I'll help all these patients out, and you've never met them before, but your goal is always to make a good enough impression initially that they remember you.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And how do you manage all of that without just feeling burnout?
Caffeine. Yeah, there's no other way to put it.
Definitely.
It's like sometimes college is a lot about like sacrifices. Sometimes it's sleep, sometimes it's the gym, sometimes it's like food, but you shouldn't get to that point. That's only during finals week.
Yeah, we were
But
studying together a lot of finals week, so yeah, I
yeah,
do
I lost
remember
actually.
seeing you with like with some
Yeah,
type of caffeine in your hand. So
yes.
yeah,
Finals
that is
week,
the truth.
caffeine,
Sometimes
DoorDash.
it's yeah, like sometimes like that is the truth. Like it is a grind, and there's no way to sugarcoat it. But but
Just
I
about
appreciate the
balance.
honest insight. Yep, it is about balance. So, like, I guess going forward to like to your current role, you are currently at an internship in South Carolina. So, what was that move like? And just like explain some of the things you've been able to get involved with there.
Yeah, so I mean, the transition here wasn't actually that bad. It's not what I expected. Everyone here is super nice. Might say a lot more friendly than up north because the weather's way better. But
Carroll Daniel, right? That's the company.
yeah, Carroll Daniel. Um,
Carroll Daniel. Yes.
yeah, so they they were originally a construction company, and then they acquired this like engineering firm for project development. So that's where I'm at right now. It's like essentially O'Neill was the old company that
Mhm.
they acquired. So they kind of still operate as like two separate entities, but eventually the goal, I think, is to have the engineerings with all the product development and design, and then the construction company can actually like make everything.
Mhm. Cool. And have you noticed that your skills that you learned in the classroom translated particularly well to that experience?
I think there's definitely an overlap with some of the stuff you learn in school, but as with like any job, you learn. I think you learn most of the stuff on like one on site when you get there. So like because I'm doing a lot of stuff with like flow rates and pumps right now, so
Mhm.
fluids applies a lot to it, but the stuff you learn in there with all the equations, it's more of just like
It's more
problem
conceptual.
solving, and not
Yeah.
actually like solving things, because
Mhm.
you're not going to take out pen and paper and a calculator and do stuff. You have like high level softwares that they're paying these license for to do it for you. Your job is more just to analyze how you can maximize the efficiency of a system, which the software can then give you all like the data for.
Right. So I guess that kind of connects back to what you were saying before. That's where those communication skills like really like do take the cake. And that is where the leadership really starts to come into the center. Like it starts to come into the limelight. So that is definitely something that is really important to consider. So I guess going back to that leadership aspect, like a lot of people are hesitant to like to take on those roles initially, right? So I guess how do you overcome that initial, I guess, like hesitance or fear to come into these opportunities?
Um, I mean, like as I said, high school, I was not involved at all. And going into college, I knew that's something I had to do. So I guess that kind of like eased the pressure a bit, knowing that I had to get it done. Because like I know a lot of people are, especially like going into a new school as big as Penn State with all the different people. Um, it's like a little intimidating at first, but once you realize everyone's in the same boat, it kind of makes it easier. Um, and you meet a lot of people along the way, and it kind of just happens itself. It's not like when
Yeah.
I first joined, I wasn't like a lot of stuff just happens naturally with people you meet. So uh,
Yeah, like those connections do just kind of naturally propel you
yeah,
for.
like as long as you're open to meeting people, stuff like opportunities will open. So you don't have to like overthink stuff as much as you might going into school, but like just be open to meeting new people.
Hmm. Definitely. I think that that is very important. I fully agree. So I guess kind of like shifting back to the classroom, like one question that I kind of had, it's because like I've seen you like utilize a lot of different learning strategies and like sometimes utilize tools such as AI to help you like understand the content better. How do you balance understanding content utilizing like a tool such as AI versus versus just like holistically relying on it just for everything.
Yeah, so it's definitely about a balance. So with engineering, especially chemical, you're not going to be able to understand everything in class because once you get lost, like that's it, you're checked out for the rest of class. So, when you're doing like problems, you're trying to understand it. Office hours are obviously a good tool, but sometimes you just have a quick question where you don't want to have to like wait till office hours or go to the professor. You can use AI to help you with that. Um, and I think especially this past semester, that was a big role with like especially homeworks. Um, it can
Mhm.
help you understand, but just make sure you're not just copying it for the homework, so you can still use it to help you understand. Uh,
Hmm. Got it. And like that is a space that is like continually evolving too. So I guess I guess like as like people come into college, I think that's something that's going to be changing and something that we as a student body need to be cognizant of like in the future going forward.
yeah,
So
and like
thank you for
even
that
in my
insight.
current role, like
Hmm.
all the interns, a lot of the new grads too, like they use AI for a lot of stuff. Because I don't want to have to nag my mentor every 2 seconds for a question I have about like
Right.
pipe flow. So as long as you don't like put
Right.
confidential information in, it's good.
Yep. Yep. Alrighty, Zach. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Like I really appreciate just like your honest insights into what it means to be a chemical engineer who is focused on pre-med and goes to Penn State. So, I guess do you have any last bits and pieces of advice for people as they navigate the college application process?
As I said, just like don't be afraid, be open to meeting new people, and good things will happen.
Alrighty, sweet. And this has been episode 9 of Krishnan College. Thank you so much again, Zach, and
Thank
I
you for
look
having me.
forward to seeing you in person at Penn State next semester.
Yep. Take care.